We did it. Duke basketball is back. Countdown to craziness is here. They're inside Cameron Indoor Stadium tonight. We're so excited.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's Friday, October 4th, and Duke basketball is back. We've got Countdown to Craziness later tonight from inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. Our good pal Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated joins us on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We're talking basketball. We'll talk a little football at the end of today's show as Duke gets set for their game against Georgia Tech tomorrow in Atlanta. All that and more. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Leave this podcast a 5-star rating and written review. Really appreciate your support and listening to the show each and every day. You can watch the show on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video. Share it with your friends. We're continuing our climb towards 3,000 subscribers and appreciate all of your help in us doing that. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So we bring him into today's show. Conor ONeal is back with us, and the long-awaited await for Duke basketball to return has finally come to an end. Conor, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, those of you might know I'm a Orioles fan, so one season ends and I have a little time to mourn that, but go to work and cover Duke basketball is a nice little transition for me.
Absolutely, man. It's the perfect time of year. We've got football. You mentioned the baseball playoffs going on, and now college basketball gets set to get going later tonight with Countdown to Craziness. So excited to see the Duke basketball team finally take the floor. A lot of hype as there is each and every offseason. It's hard to kind of rank where hype sits going into years. But I do feel like this one's up there, man. A lot of people have been waiting for us to finally get this moment to see this Duke basketball team in particular take the floor in Cameron Indoor.
Yeah, it feels like some things kind of are rounding into form. I look at it from a standpoint of this is Jon's third year, and it feels like there's a little bit of a reset button that was pushed because there was so much carryover from year one to year two. Now there's not much. Now you just have two returners. You have another big freshman class with probably, I don't think it's out of line to say there's more hype for this freshman class than there has been for the last two. And that's it's kind of felt like it's built to this point. They've got a big road game in the non-conference when they go to Arizona. They get, all due respect to the years they play Michigan State like last year. I always like the Champions Classic when they play Kansas or Kentucky because those are actually like championship programs that are trying to win every year and have a legit chance to do it. So it's just it feels like there's more build up, there's more anticipation, there's more excitement for this season and where it could go. And it's about time to roll the balls out and see.
Yeah, we get to see it happen. Excited to see the debut a little bit later for Cooper Flagg inside Cameron Indoor. He has had just a crazy summer participating with Team USA select team, coming back on campus. The clips that we've seen of this Duke team playing so far has been incredible, what he's able to do on both ends of the floor. And then most recently, about a week ago, Duke has their local media day, Conor, and we finally get an opportunity to kind of hear Cooper Flagg himself talk about what life is like getting set to start his first year as a Duke basketball player. What did you take of what he had to say? What was it like finally being able to hear from him?
I took it as he is one mature 17-year-old. He turns 18.
Impressive.
So I think still in about 2.5 months. His 18th birthday is actually the day they play at Georgia Tech on December 21st. Man, he's poised. He's calm. He took a dumb question from me and didn't really get too annoyed by it. He was bothered by it, and that was my bad. I don't think it's going to be the worst question he's asked all year, though. So we'll roll with that.
Yeah, getting some of them out of the way, man. That's all you're doing. You're setting them up, getting them used to it.
And if his parents hadn't been in the room, maybe he would have been able to take it in a direction that was a little different. But I digress. No, he's very poised. You get the sense of why he'll be able to handle this season, and not that he's going to go out and score 30 points every game. I think I've made it clear that that's just not going to be his game. But he's going to be able to handle some setbacks, some adversity. That stuff is going to happen. It's bound to happen, or he's just going to be one of the best college basketball players of all time if it doesn't. But he's just an impressive kid. He's ultra competitive. His ultra competitiveness bleeds through to the way he plays and the way he plays so hard. And then you take into account all the other stuff, the intangibles, like his innate basketball sense and his basketball IQ and his ability to read things. And then the fact that he's 6'9" and has great reflexes, great athleticism. It all boils into this cauldron of creating what the future number one pick looks like. And that's going to be really exciting to watch for the next, 6 months or so.
Yeah, it's the long-awaited Cameron Indoor Stadium debut for Cooper Flagg, and it happens a little bit later today. Countdown to Craziness is finally here. What other things is Conor ONeal looking forward to? We've been talking about a lot of different topics throughout the course of the week. We'll continue our conversation here in one moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the absolute best. It's America's #1 sports book, and they want NFL fans to start the season with a big return. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Had a really fun and exciting Thursday night football game last night between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. This Sunday, really fun contest where our Carolina Panthers take on Jon Scheyer's Chicago Bears. Panthers, Bears, many more exciting NFL games. You can see all the lines and more over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Locked On Blue Devils, proudly supported by FanDuel. Conor ONeal is here with us from Devils Illustrated. We're getting set for Countdown to Craziness a little bit later this evening. We've talked about Cooper Flagg's long-awaited debut. He just seems like such an incredible basketball player. Mature, as you said, when he met with the media for the first time. And I would imagine there's a lot of people across the country that are wanting to see this guy play basketball this year.
Yeah, I think if you talk to the Duke sports information staff and the communication staff, one of the things I heard him say was they've heard from just about every media outlet that could possibly exist in the state of Maine. Yeah. They all want to get a look at him, get to talk to him. It's understandable, right? And it's a little different because Zion came from a different state, but Zion was still regional, like still came from the Carolinas. And the difference was Zion, the hype train didn't take off for Zion until that Canadian tour. Yeah. And it feels like Cooper Flagg is a little bit longer of a runway of when it's been building. And then he exploded with the Team USA stuff in Vegas over the summer.
On the court stuff, what do you think is going to be the first thing that pops for Duke fans when they watch Cooper Flagg play?
I think as long as they're fans that didn't catch him at Mount Verde or on the AAU circuit, I think you're just going to be blown away at how well he positions himself defensively. Like, he's able to get to so many balls and create deflections or block shots or make life miserable for opposing offensive players. whether he's helping, whether he's guarding the ball. It's just it's hard to put into words without visual evidence, and you'll get visual evidence soon enough here in several hours. But yeah, it's on the defensive end. I know he's a good offensive player. Jon Scheyer said that one of the kind of more surprising things, not that you're blown away and expected him to be a 28% shooter when he came in, but one of the surprising things about him is how well he has shot the ball since he got to Duke. But it'll still be on the defensive end where you're gonna kind of be blown away by everything that he does to affect the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome to see him playing for this Duke basketball team. It's a little taste tonight, right? And Countdown to Craziness, really ready for the games to come and playing against opponents. Although I will say in these episodes that they keep putting out of Duke Blue Planet, and we're seeing some run that this team is getting against one another, there's some screaming and some passion and emotion from Cooper Flagg that we've known him to have against his own teammates. So what's that going to look like when there are other guys that play? That's certainly something I'm excited to see, man.
Yeah, that's going to be all fodder for ESPN and those people to talk about him being the most hated player in college basketball.
Yeah.
You're bound to see the headline. I think there was already a headline done like last year about how great it'll be that the most hated player in college basketball is a Duke player again. It felt like we were trying to pigeonhole. We, as in, college basketball media, was trying to pigeonhole Flip into that last year. And I mean, Flip wasn't the outwardly emotional guy. He was emotional with himself more than he was emotional with his opponents. So this one's going to be the one where people are drawing all the conclusions to Leitner, Redick, Hurley. Like they're going to be buckle up for that part of the discussion that comes with Cooper Flagg this season.
Yeah, I can guarantee we almost need to set an over-under on this. Like the number of TV rollouts going to commercial break throughout the course of the season where it's a replay reaction from what Cooper Flagg has done. Like it's going to be up there. We're going to see a lot of it, and I can't wait for all that to get started. Give me something else, Conor. Countdown to Craziness a little bit later tonight. What's something you're looking forward to seeing?
I want to see Con Newpel. He's been this summer revelation of, I just wrote the little story on Devils Illustrated yesterday about how his game can be summed up with a simple adage that actually gets traced back to Navy SEALs, and it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yep. He
moves at his own pace. He is realistic and will tell you he's not the quickest guy on the floor. He's not going to blow anybody away with his athleticism, but he's also not just some spot up 3-point shooter who's going to stay behind the arc. And that's where all of his shots are going to come from. He's going to penetrate. He's going to drive. And he's able to do that because he has this kind of methodical craftiness to his game. And I want to see how that translates. It's going to be a little different because he's going to be playing against guys that have playing against him for 3 or 4 months now. So they're going to be a little more familiar with his game. I think he's going to be able to have more success when he's not playing against those types of guys. But I want to see Con. And God, if I could squeeze one more in, I want to see Kaman Malawak. Or Malawach. I mean, he's 7'2". He's gonna have a role like Derek Lively did 2 years ago. Just put pressure on the rim as a lob threat and play defense and rebound. It's really that simple.
Yeah, we like when things are simple. And yeah, let's get the ball to the big fella on the inside. Good things tend to happen when that takes place. Jon Scheyer getting set for his 3rd season as Duke head coach. We're just 2 years removed from when that was the big debut at Countdown, right? Like, here is your head coach for Duke men's basketball. It's not Mike Krzyzewski, it's Jon Scheyer, and we're used to this now. I'm excited to see how he can bring this team together with the 2 returning guards in Proctor and Foster and make all the other pieces fit.
Yeah, and I think the discussion with Jon is kind of how he's evolved. And last year at this time, remember we were talking about how this program did not bring a transfer in. We knew that they wanted a rim protecting center and didn't get one. They've added 3 guys that are going to help them win games this year with Sion James, Mason Gillis, and Malik Brown. Malik Brown just straight up said at Media Day the other day, defense is my thing. Like that means he will play for Jon Scheyer. If we've seen anything from Jon over the last 2 years, it's his prioritization of defense in his rotation and who gets minutes and who doesn't. Mason Gillis is going to play the role of enforcer. Sion James, you're going to cringe all year because Jay Billis is going to tell you how much he looks like an NFL linebacker, just like we had to listen to him talk about Trevor Keels seemingly every single game. But yeah, I mean, it's there. He is built. He's 6'6", 220 and looks like Adonis, right?
Yep.
Like he's a massive person. And it was, I know Jon has said it, I think on podcasts and he's made it clear. It was intentional. Like, this was a Duke team that they needed to go out and get stronger and tougher and more experienced. And the only way you can do that in college basketball is through the portal. When you're at a place like Duke, you're not doing that through development. You're not waiting 3 or 4 years. It's just not the type of kids that you're recruiting. So you need to go out and do it through the portal. And that's what they did.
I'm excited to see all these pieces come together for head coach Jon Scheyer, and obviously the biggest piece of them all, Cooper Flagg, what he's going to be able to do for this Duke basketball team. All right, we're going to kind of shift our gears. Another big event in Durham this weekend is going to be following that Duke football team, set to play actually in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. We're going to give you a full preview of that when we come back after this last break here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. The Game Time Picks make it easier to save more up front. They've got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Conor ONeal is back with us here from Devils Illustrated, the Rivals website for the Duke Blue Devils. Tell us a little bit about your work, Conor.
Yeah, Devils Illustrated is where you want to be at this time of year. Preseason basketball coverage, football coverage of an unbeaten team right now. Duke.rivals.com is where you can find all my work. I hope you come check it out. Come on the message board, interact, get involved. It's like I said, it's the best time of year to jump on board.
Yeah. So Duke football now gets set for a road game, their first ACC road game of the season. They'll be taking on Georgia Tech in Atlanta, a team that is currently favored by a touchdown, according to our friends over at FanDuel. What kind of jumps out to you as the big things to watch in this one, Conor?
The biggest thing is it's cliche and it's been talked about all week, but it's been talked about all week for a reason. It's how does Duke come off of such an emotional win? I think I just saw something yesterday morning about the victory bell was finally painted. How do you recalibrate? How do you kind of come off of that one, move on to the next one? Because some weird things happen in Atlanta to Duke when they go down there. I think they've only won twice in the last 30 years down there, and they didn't. The last time they went down there, we felt good about them. Georgia Tech had just fired Jeff Collins, and I think Brent Key was coaching either his first or second game as the interim guy, and you felt like Duke would go down there and kind of roll, and all of a sudden they were down 2 touchdowns early. Shaka Hayward got thrown out of the game for a targeting, and they had some weird penalties. Jalen Calhoun, I think, got hurt early and was out, and just it was a bad loss down there. It's where bad losses happen to good teams. Carolina can attest to that over the last couple of years. So this is a tricky one. And the other side of it is you've got an off week on the other side of it. So sometimes you have young players that you go through a month-long fall camp and then you go 6 games in a row. It's really tough on the bodies. And when you see that off week on the schedule for the next week, you start thinking they can finally get some recovery and they can get their bodies back. And that last game before the bye week can sneak up and bite you. So this is going to be a tough one for Duke.
This Duke, or Georgia Tech defense, we've talked about it this week, led by Tyler Santucci as their defensive coordinator, who'd been in Durham the last few seasons under Mike Elko. Jess Simpson had been the Duke defensive line coach. Now he coaches the D-line for Georgia Tech. What I'm curious about when we look at this offense going up against Georgia Tech's defense, Conor, can Star Thomas continue this run that he's on running the football? I mean, it has been unbelievable to watch this guy play as of late. A big reason why Duke has been so successful. And I can go ahead and tell you, if we were sitting inside the meeting rooms in Atlanta this week, it's a whole lot of let's stop 17. Let's stop that guy out of the backfield because Star Thomas has been on a tear.
Yeah, I mean, what he's done is pretty remarkable. He's been a father for 3 weeks and he's put up 300-yard games. I guess I don't know the name of his child, but he or she must be the
motivator. Yeah.
It's got him rolling. He forced 16 missed tackles against Carolina, which was the second most in the country for last weekend's games, only behind Ashton Gianti from Boise State, who is landing on everybody's, end of September Heisman ballots right now. So look, they've done a great job of a lot of, not to take anything away from Star or the offensive line, but what they've done a great job of that they didn't do well in the first 2 weeks of the year is run when the run opportunities are there. When teams are convinced that the biggest threat from Duke's offense is Malik Murphy stretching the field and throwing deep balls to Eli Pankel and Jordan Moore, the first 2 games, that would happen and Duke wouldn't be able to take advantage of the run boxes, of the run looks. The last 3 games they have been, and that's why the run game has gotten going. That's why the offensive line has kind of rounded into form, and we're not talking about an offensive line that was piecemealed together and is, doing the best they can, but they're really bad because they didn't get to spend spring ball together. Like we're talking about a really good offensive line right now because of what they've done on the ground for the last 3 weeks. So keeping that going, I mean, that's how you win on the road is you're able to run the ball and control the game.
How does this one play out, Conor? How can Duke find themselves 6-0 when it's all said and done? How can they get to that victory?
I think you've got to run the ball. I think the other side of it, the strength on strength to this is you've got to get pressure on Haynes King. Georgia Tech is one of 3 teams in the country that hasn't a lot of sack this year. And one of the other 3 is Army, which has thrown the ball like 31 times in 4 games. So Georgia Tech has done a great job of both keeping Haynes King upright and getting the ball out of his hands quickly. So we know this Duke defense. Duke is 5th in the country in sacks with 17 coming into the game. We know Duke loves to create pressure and create TFLs and get you behind the chains. It's what leads to playing successful defense. If they're unable to do that, and if Georgia Tech can keep moving forward, if everything about Georgia Tech's offensive line is already about what Brent Key is, and Brent Key was their offensive line coach, like they want to be a power football team. They want to run the ball down your throat, and they want to get the ball out quick to some playmakers in space. So if Duke is able to disrupt that, Duke's defense can have another good day. If Duke is unable to disrupt it, I think we're talking about a game in which Duke has to score, 30 plus points because Georgia Tech can control the ball and can control the clock if you don't get them behind schedule and make them either turn it over or make them punt it back to you.
One thing's for sure, all the best coverage around this game can be found over at Devils Illustrated. Again, duke.rivals.com, not only tonight for Countdown to Craziness festivities, but what unfolds tomorrow in Atlanta when the Duke football team takes on Georgia Tech. Conor, the time is always greatly appreciated. So good to see you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by here today.
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Conor ONeal joining us here on the show. Go check out all of his great work. And that brings us to another end of a Locked On Blue Devils week. Thank you so much for your support each and every day. We're back at it again on Monday. As always, go Duke. Have a great weekend. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.